y'all? Today we are going to be building this audio blob. Another little RayTK patch. We got some audio reactivity built in here, lots of post-processing stuff per usual. And this is what it looks like. Well, we got some audio reactivity going, so I'll show you that. Cool. Well, let's get to it here. So go ahead and just pull up a blank TouchDesigner network, and then drag and drop RayTK into your project file. I already did that here. And let's start with just our basic render network setup. So going ahead and for me, opening up the RayTK palette is Control R. I believe it's Alt R as the default. I just change it because I think it's easier that way. So Control R, grab our Raymarch render, drop that in. And then I like to have a constant chop for my resolution. So let's do 1920 by 1080. Go ahead and make the viewer active and drag and drop that into the resolution in the Raymarch render. Just makes it easy if you need to change your resolution on the fly or something like that. And then let's add in an RGB key and a null. And I'm gonna go ahead and drag that like way down here because we're gonna need some space. Turn the viewer on. Oh no. There we go. Sick. Now let's go ahead, open up the palette again, and just grab your basic look at camera. Oop. Plug that into the renderer, and set your TZ position to 6. Then we're gonna go ahead here and grab a point light. Oh, why is this not typing? There we go. And plug that in as well. And set your TY position to 1 and your TZ position to 2. And cool. So let's go ahead here and grab our first SDF. So opening up the palette, and we are gonna grab a Julia SDF and plug that into the renderer and set our C1 parameter to -0.32, C2 to -0.63. Oop, that's not negative. -0.63. C3, we're gonna go 0.34, and C4 0.22. And we're gonna bring our iterations up to 6. So you should have something that looks like this. And let's go ahead now and bring in a noise field. So open up your palette, grab a noise field, and then we're gonna open up our palette again. We're gonna grab a rescale field. And in this rescale field, let's go to the return type and grab vector, plug our noise field into the rescale field, and then our rescale field into our Julia. And we should get something that looks like this. Now for our noise field here, let's start getting some movement going. So I picked Perlin 40 noise. It's one of my favorites. Big Perlin noise girl. And for our translate here, let me make sure I got this right. Cool, so for our translate 1, we're going to do abs time dot seconds times 0.08. For our second one, abs time dot seconds times 0.04. For our third one, abs time dot seconds times negative 0.1. And then for our last one here, abs time dot seconds times 0.2. Cool, so we got some variation in our noise here. I really like the way this looks. We're going to be adding some audio reactivity to this down the line, but for now we're going to start here and we're going to put our offset parameter to 0.2. Sick. Now let's go ahead and open up the palette again, and we're going to grab a sphere, SDF, drop it here, and bring our radius up. I don't know, something like this. And then we're going to go ahead, open up our palette again, and grab another noise field. And for this one, we're going to go ahead and grab value 4D Wombat. And then for our translate 4, we are going to do, let me see. Let's do abs time dot seconds times 0.09. Now we're going to go ahead, open up the palette, grab a round, and plug our sphere into the first input and our noise into the second, and turn the amount all the way up to 1. Open up the palette again and grab a combine. And let's hook up our Julia to the first input and then our round to the second. Then connect that to the renderer. And it's huge. So let's change the combine type here to, let's see, smooth intersect. Oh, yes, very cool. And bring the radius down a little bit to something like 0.32. And that's pretty much it for our SDF setup here. So let's go ahead and move on to our color and our material. So we're going to open up the palette and grab a modular mat. And put the combine into our first input, hook that material up to the second, or sorry, to our renderer. And for the first thing we're going to do with our material here, let's go ahead and use the light color, use ambient occlusion, and do we need enable reflection? Yes. So we are going to enable reflection, and really important, once you enable reflection, make sure you head over to your Raymarch render here and turn on the toggle switch for reflection. So that's going to be inside your Raymarch render, and just leave it at the default 2 passes. So this is what we got going on here. And for our first input on this modular material, let's grab our rim contribute. Hook that up. I don't like where this combine is. That's better. Okay. Rim contribute. We are going to turn our thickness up just a little bit, and then bring our blending all the way up to 1. And now we're going to open up the palette again and grab our hologram contribute and hook that up to the third input. That's the color field on our rim. And we're going to turn our iterations down to 2. Keep our step distance where it's at. Bring our period here. Leave the first one, our period X, at 0.1. Bring our period Y to 1.6. and leave our period Z at 0.1. And for our phase, we are going to animate that with ABS time.seconds times 0.08. So let's go ahead and open up our palette again and grab a specular contribute. Oops. And hook that up to the third input on our modular mat. And we're going to keep the method on GGX, bring our roughness down just a hair to, and turn our Fresnel all the way up. So now it's looking a little bit shiny. Cool. So that's it for our setup in RayTK. You can always play around with what's going on down here, like with this sphere. You can always add in a different SDF or change your combined modes. But that's it for our setup there. So let's move on to some post-processing stuff. So the first thing we're going to grab here is we're going to go into the renderer. Cool. So your depth output should already be enabled. So open up your palette and grab your depth map, and then this third output from your renderer hooks right up to that, and we are gonna click pulse here so it updates. Gamma is gonna go all the way up to 3, and we're gonna clamp, and then let's go ahead and hook that depth map up to a level. So in our level, we're going to invert and leave everything else where it's at. Yeah. So we're going to leave everything else where it's at there. And now we're going to grab a noise and go ahead and just drag and drop your resolution onto that noise. And we're going to change a couple things here. So go ahead, let's turn our period up to 3. Turn our harmonics all the way down. Exponent 1. Yep, everything's going to stay the same there. And let's come over to our translate and our TZ. We're going to do ABS time. Oops, ABS time dot seconds times 0.09. So now we are going to hook this noise and this level up into a comp. So go ahead and grab a composite. And our noise is going to be our first input, the level is going to be the second, and we're going to just leave it at multiply. Let's go ahead and grab a ramp. And same thing, drag and drop our resolution into this ramp. Oops. And this ramp we're gonna set to radial and bring our position up to, and our Y to 0.6 because I hate seeing that little line there, it drives me insane. And then set our phase to ABS time dot seconds times 0.3, or sorry, 0.03. Bring our period up just a hair to 1.33. 1.33. Extend left to mirror, extend right to mirror, and then set our interpolate notches to ease in, ease out. And let's go ahead, let's pick some colors. Let's see. I don't know, I think I was feeling kind of blue and purple when I did this initially, so let's do something similar to that. dark blue. And then lighter blue here. Cool. Spread these out just a little bit. Sick. And let's comp that with our noise. So let's grab a composite here. Hook up our ramp as the first input, noise is the second, and we're going to keep that in multiply as well. And now we're going to grab another comp. And for this comp, we are going to hook up comp 2 as the first input, comp 1 as the second, and we are going to set our operation to a top. And now we're gonna grab another comp. All I know is comp, truly, at this point. And this comp 3 is gonna be the first input, and then we're gonna grab straight from our render as the second input, and set this as an add. And then we're gonna comp that one more time. Oops, wrong way. So let's go ahead, grab another comp. Hook comp 4 up as our first input, and then grab again straight from the renderer as our second input, and we're gonna keep that on multiply. So let's go ahead and just leave that as is. And move on to our next little branch here. So pulling straight from our renderer here, we're gonna hook up an edge top. And on our edge top, we are gonna turn our black level up to this. Turn our strength up to 10. And keep everything else the way it is. So now we're gonna grab another ramp. And drag and drop our resolution onto that ramp. And in our ramp here, I think, let's see, I did straight up rainbow colors. Super sick. Okay, cool. So again, we'll set this to radial and turn our TY here up to 0.5. Animate our phase with ABS time.seconds times 0.02. Oops. And change extend left to mirror, extend right to mirror, and this to ease in, ease out. Turned on dithering. So here, let's see. We're running with a pink. And you can pick whatever colors you want here. This is just what I was running with when I built this originally. Oops. There we go. Let's get rid of that and have this pink as our first one. Grab an orange. And yellow. Yellowy orange. Actually, I think I want this to be a little more red. Yeah. Love that. So, like I said, pick whatever colors you want for that. I was feeling rainbow, clearly, so that's what I'm rocking with here. And let's hook our edge and our ramp into a comp again. Edge is the first input, ramp is the second, keeping that at multiply. And just plug that into a bloom. Turn our pre-black level all the way up to 1, pre-gamma to 0.93, brightness up just a hair to 1.17. Got both of these bloom minimum radius and our max radius, both at 1, our threshold at negative 0.02. Our bloom fill all the way up to 1, bloom intensity all the way up to 4. And then we're going to throw that into a blur. And keep our pre-shrink at 1, filter size all the way up to 32. And now let's grab a level. And in our level here, we're going to turn, under the pre tab, we're going to turn our brightness all the way up to 2. Keep everything else the same. And then in the post tab, we are going to turn this brightness also up to 2. So this should be still blurry, but it's bright. So we're going to open up our and grab a comp. And in this comp, let me move this a little closer. So we're going to comp 5 as, oh, sorry, let's grab our level as our first input and then our comp here as the second. And we are going to change our operation here to over. Now, let's give ourselves some more space here because we are not done with post-processing. Oh, sick. This is my favorite part. So this is how I build my little pixelation, I guess, background that you see in a lot of the stuff that I do. So let's let's open up the palette on the side here and go to image filters and drag and drop a pixelate down. So from our comp here, let's hook a pixelate up to that. And in our pixelate, we are gonna set our horizontal pixel size to 40 and keep the vertical at 10. And then we're gonna grab an edge, hook that up right there, so you should be seeing something that looks like this. And in our edge, we're just going to keep everything at the default settings. And now we're going to grab a select, put that right here, and for our select, we are going to grab the same ramp that we used down here for our blur and bloom, and drag and drop that there. Grab another comp and hook the select up first, then we're going to hook up our edge, keep it at multiply, and then hook up a transform. And in our transform, we're just going to up the scale just a little bit. So 1.1 is all we're doing with that. And now we are going to grab another comp. And in this comp, we are going to hook up comp 7 as our first input, and then this transform is the second. And we're going to set the operation mode to over. And now we are going to go ahead and hook this up to our final output, and this is what it should be looking like. Sick. Move this back and just clean up this a little bit. Cool. So this is my favorite part, personally. I love making things audio reactive. So this is how I do my sound setup. If you want this Nabio reactivity audio piece that I use here, that will be available on my Patreon with this project file. So I bring in Nabio reactivity. This is a little component that my partner and I built together. And this sound container, all this sound container is just a global path for when I have things set up for AAVJ, so I can make sure I'm getting the sound from my audio interface that I use. So it's just a container with an audio device in and a null sound, and then I grab a select and do this. No sound. And then it pulls directly from whatever audio device. Hook this up, and then come in here, add in V2, and this beat follower, I can't remember where I got this from, but this is just a really helpful interface. You can see it's picking up me talking. So this is just a beat follower interface with a couple selects and an envelope, and then this is what my partner and I built to kind of dial it in a little bit and have a little bit more control over each individual piece of the audio wave. So I take that and hook that up to a null. And in our first noise field here, let's go ahead and let's make this viewer active. So in our noise field here, I'm gonna go ahead and copy and then drag and drop V1 into here, and then add back in that ABS time.seconds. And V1 in this case is going to be all of the low ends of whatever track you're pulling in. So basically just like your bass and your big subby frequencies. Same thing, copy, drag and drop, and then add it back in. And we're gonna do that all the way through here with our V1. Cool, so that's it for that part, and then we are gonna come down to our other noise field down here, and we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna copy and paste our ABS time.seconds, drag and drop our V1, and then add back in our ABS time.seconds. And I believe you can do something similar with the audio device analysis from the palette, and then hook that up to a speed chop. It does something similar, so you keep getting a continuous variable that's reacting with, I guess, the output of whatever part of the audio form that you're taking. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but yeah, we'll run with it. But yeah, so this is how I do my audio setups. I love this component that we made, and if I can find where I got this beat follower interface from, I will link it in the description below. But this entire component, this Nabio reactivity, is available in my Patreon in this project file. So you can get this whole project file and that component there if you don't want to use something you already have, or you want to just use this specific thing. But other than that, that's about it. I will turn on, I guess, another track so we can see what this audio reactivity looks like. so that's it for this. Thanks for hanging out and building this with me. And as always, if you build this or post it anywhere and make your own take on it, I would love to see what you create with it. So tag me, Crystal Beth. I don't know, it's so fun. It makes my heart so happy. People learning and coming up with their own iterations of my tutorials. I don't know, it's cool to be part of this community, and I love to see what you make. So tag me in that. And yeah, thanks again for hanging out with me. Cool. Have a good rest of your week, y'all.